eagerly anticipated conclusion to Zach and my adventures in Dark Souls 3. Before we jump in too far, a quick few production notes. Number one, thank you guys so much for sticking with us as we made our way through this beast of a game. The majority of our audience was somehow built on Zach and I sharing our thoughts and feelings about whatever we felt like at that time.
Random everything.
So thank you for yes. So thank you for pushing through as we started streaming more consistently. As Zach explained on one of his last streams, the streaming decision has a lot to do with the fact that we have very conflicting schedules right now.
Yeah.
But we love doing this, where we give our opinions, we do reviews, that sort of stuff.
And not to give you guys like a sob story or anything, but like just catching you up to speed and keeping you in the know, because I do think transparency is key. Aaron's really, he and his fiance are planning their wedding, and he's in a very involved job that requires him to travel, get up early, go to bed early, dedicate a lot of time. And there's also the fact that my wife and I just had our first daughter, and it turns out a baby is a little bit of work, and so schedules weren't lining up perfectly. And that's when Aaron pitched the idea of taking a small hiatus from weekly meetings and recording sessions and doing like a stream where we'd play through a game, beat it, and then get some, collect our thoughts in a similar fashion to the format we do before. Now, obviously, we've concluded it at the base game. He's tackled the DLC a billion times, and I haven't tackled any of it, but we think this is as good a point as any.
It's 1 billion times to be exact, actually.
To the T. To the exact number.
To the T. I finished it 1 billionth time tonight. But yeah, like he said, the idea was obviously for us to get through the core game, and so we felt that would give us the best rendition of giving our overall opinion on the game. What the DLC has to offer, I can give my opinions on too, as we talk about, since I have been through them 1 billion times.
1 billion times. Oh, God, please don't leave.
Please stay with us for more than 30 seconds.
We need your views.
But we really do love doing this, and we love all of you and creating content for you. So, of course, we wanted to get back to this, give our opinions and our feelings on the game, even if it's not the traditional sitting side by side, hand on each thighs.
I'm so glad your voice cut out right there. Hand on each other's thighs.
Yes.
We are in spirit next to each other at all times.
It's true. Actually, Rachel gets very jealous because I cuddle your spirit at night instead of her.
Spiritually grab his butt. It's yeah. Now that you've all left for the second time. So I kind of want to get into this with like preliminary thoughts. Like we both probably had some preconceived notions about Dark Souls 3, or maybe just Dark Souls on the whole. So you start us off. What were you thinking? Because it was your idea to be like, hey, Zach, let's do the stream. And I'm thinking Dark Souls 3 has multiplayer and we can play through that. So what was your kind of view on this, going into this, starting this? Yeah,
right.
You get it.
So for me, Dark Souls was one of those games back when I worked at GameStop, back in our early days, the early days of our relationship. When I worked at GameStop, a lot of people who would come in, a lot of people that I worked with, like Dion and Ray and stuff, they were always saying things. You got to play the Dark Souls games. They're going to change your life. They're super difficult. They're the toughest games out there. Just if you're going to play them, they're totally your style. But if you're going to play them, just prepare to just want to throw your freaking controller at the TV and just quit. And good luck if you do decide to do it. And I like a good challenge, so I never took them up on it in a timely fashion.
Could you hear me rolling my eyes? Sorry, continue. It's part of my opinion too, as when you're done.
So when you and I were looking for games to stream, I wanted something that I thought was gonna be hefty, right? I wanted something that
hefty
had, hefty, like my spiritual butt.
Why did you go there? It's always butts with this guy. Like seriously.
I enjoy them.
Clearly.
So I wanted though for us to tackle a game that not only had multiplayer but was going to have a really intricate lore, And Dark Souls is my kind of game where I can develop my character as I see fit, right? Where I can pick my classes and put my points in to where I want them. So for me, it felt like it would be a good fit, and I just kind of wanted to play the challenge. I just wanted to jump into that sort of a challenge that I had heard about it, heard it was going to be, and we needed we needed we needed something that I felt was going to have, well, obviously something that I felt would challenge us, and something that I felt we were both going to know enough about. Well, enough about what it was, but little enough about the actual game that we weren't going to have we were going to have preconceived notions, but we weren't going to be able to just walk in and walk through it.
Ponzor.
Right.
As we used to say back when we thought we were cool in 2002.
I'm not that old.
Yes, you are, and as am I. Sorry, were you finished? I didn't want to cut you off there.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Kind of piggybacking off of what Aaron just said, so way back when Demon Souls first came out, a buddy of mine was huge into it, and yeah, he bragged about it, just the gameplay and the mechanics, and I don't really know, like the methodical pace of it all, and that's cool. I can appreciate that. But then the game slowly, excuse me, the game slowly turned into the Dark Souls franchise from Demon Souls, and around this time is when it started picking up word of mouth, and more importantly, that word of mouth mixed with an overall marketing campaign that really just kind of made me sick. Like, a game doesn't need to define itself by a particular concept and then beat that concept to death over and over again, especially if it's not a new concept. And of course, by that, what I'm referring to is the notion that, excuse me, and of course by that I mean the notion is that Dark Souls is, I guess in many words, hyper difficult. Like, oh, you won't believe how difficult this is, and oh, you're going to die 600 times. And, oh, other games hold your hands, whereas Dark Souls treats you like a man. Now, none of that, of the above, is particularly true in my opinion. It is difficult. It's not a baby easy game, necessarily. Right. There are ways you can abuse it, and that's the end of the story. You can turn it into a simple game, and nobody gets to debate that, okay? If you can beat the game at level 1, well, that's because I'm skilled. Then the game's just not that hard. You can learn the game. That means the game has memorization patterns, and that's kind of my deal with it, is that sorry. we're talking about preliminary opinions. I get ahead of myself here because I'm dumb. But I hated I just felt like there was no way any of that could be true. That it's just so hard, and only real men and hardcore people can play this game. I don't buy into that, and I felt that was really lame to be marketing the game like that, because it did a lot to people that I know just isn't true. Like, as the game was marketing and as it was coming out and people were claiming that they played Demon Souls and, etc., that, I love this game. I love dying. I'm just having so much fun. Man, is this killer. I've died like 100 times. Oh, having so much fun. I'm like,
good times.
You've never had fun doing that. Anytime you've ever played another game and some boss killed you for like the 15th time, you've been like, fuck this motherfucker, fuck, I hate this game, and thrown your controller. I've never heard any, like, these damn idiots going on about that, going, oh man, I just died at the spawn for the 12th time in Call of Duty. I'm having so much fun. No, you've never said that. You've never enjoyed getting killed over and over in a game.
I just bring the fact that you brought up Call of Duty, like you got killed at the spawn of Call of Duty? There's not a person out there who's like, oh, I'm going to be better next time because I got spawn killed again.
Bully.
And it's the moment you get killed the third time at spawn killed the third time, you're on your PlayStation messages, you're messaging that dude, you're calling his mother awful names. Like,
you're quitting the game, you're angry. So it made people act in a way I know that they don't act. And I felt that was pre-ruining the game for me, which is not fair. That's not okay. That's a totally lame thing, and I'm owning that. But that was where I was with Dark Souls. I wanted nothing to do with it. I was certain that it was overhyped, certain that at best it was a decent game, but couldn't possibly be what people were making it out to be. And so then, Aaron asked me, how about Dark Souls 3? And I thought, oh, God, any game but Dark Souls 3. But I figured it could be fun. My friends who are big fans of the Dark Souls franchise listen to me tear the game to shreds based on, preliminary concepts and a couple of opinions I formed by playing Dark Souls 2 for like 6 hours. So
Mhm.
I thought it would be a great opportunity for them to get a little bit of that vengeance that you won't admit it, but you always want on somebody who talks shit on something you liked. So I
Of course.
thought it'd be a little vindication for them. I beat the game up enough to them. I made them sit around and hear my unwanted opinion. They can watch me get killed a few times. So
Mhm.
I embraced it, and that brought us to actually playing the game. And when we first started, Aaron and I had different opinions on this. So Aaron, do you want to start, or do you
Oh
want me
my
to start this
god.
one?
Why don't you start on this one?
Okay, so as I first started up Dark Souls 3 and made my warrior character and played, a few things were apparent for me. One, um, everything about the game from a startup, first few hours was stunning. You got to understand something about me, and this is a point that I haven't made before, but I thought about earlier today too. I don't like dark concepts, like I really don't. I hate
Mhm.
like Tim Burton movies. I hate horror in general. I don't like
Okay.
horror settings. I'm intrigued by them at times. Like if there's a particularly cult, like big horror game going on, I'll try to be like intrigued by it, but I'm not a big fan.
So
So
were you never into the Outlast series?
never.
Oh
So,
man.
but so my
Okay.
point here being, like derelict, spooky ghost wastelands full of undead and doom and gloom and horror. I hate these things. I just they're not entertaining to me, and I'm making that point, like driving it home, to say that like, holy shit, this whole world was just so cool. It was not making a pun here because it's literally a land of undead, but it's just so alive and just so it's really got its own world, like living and breathing, and its own heart beating in there. And it was so cool to just kind of putz around in it, to get the dilapidated castle walls, the settlement
Yes.
of I say the settlement of undead in the lame way to just say the undead settlement because that's the name of the level. Um, but
We're trying to avoid any copyright infringement issues right now.
we are not. I totally did the hefty commercial, and that's what editing's for. Um, God, quit making me lose my place. I can't. I
Sorry.
can't think. But
You were talking
there's
about the beautiful
also
textures.
all the beautiful parts of the world because
Mhm.
like the catacombs of Carthus, the Dragon Peak, the Arc Dragon Peak,
Oh.
the
Mhm.
beautiful snowy city of Irithyll. It was all like it wasn't a one-hit wonder as far as worlds. Like I could play Fallout 3 for 20 hours and never leave a dust-ridden like a post-apocalyptic dust bowl. And
Right.
as much as you got some doomy and gloomy places, there were some really neat and beautiful, really beautiful places. And each
Mhm.
area, again, this is another point I think is exaggerated a bit, but it's true, nonetheless. And that is the lore is there for you to discover on your own. Oh God, again, I'm getting ahead of myself. We were talking about initial point here being,
Your
I
initials,
was
yeah.
just enveloped by it really quickly. Um, as you can watch from my first stream, I didn't have the mechanics down at all. I didn't know how to play the game, so I died very quickly to like the opening dog in zombies, the stuff that like we wouldn't even think to die to now. But
Right.
didn't even know that I was like one-handing my weapon when I wanted to two-hand it. It's just little dumb things. But nonetheless, I was really having fun with the way the game played, like the actual gameplay of it, the weapon mechanics. I would love the fact that not just the sheer amount of weapons, but that all of them were viable. Like picking up something called short sword wasn't just your newbie weapon that you wanted to replace immediately. You could use your starting longsword through the whole game if you really wanted, and it's a perfectly
Mhm.
viable weapon. The longsword you get off the knights in the first part of the 10-part game is the best longsword in the game. They each
Mhm.
have, well, best all around. I mean, they all have different things to them, different strengths and weaknesses. But the point here being, um, I love weapon and armor collecting in games, really do. Love
Yes.
weapon collecting in games. Love trying new things. The combat is there's still parts that like until you're like 100 hours in the game that you haven't really mastered, and they're a little clunky to you, but they work and you can learn. There's clearly a difference. Like when you've learned them, you're a much better player than when you don't know them, and that's a cool
Mhm.
progression no matter who you are. It really is. So all in all, we're talking about first 10, maybe 15 hours. I actually found myself like that like wanting to play it. Like if Aaron couldn't make it, I would just spend like a 3-4 hour night sitting there with a big glass of water and a snack, just running around Undead Settlement, helping people kill the boss or farming enemies, just watching them move. I fell in love with a game that I knew I'd never like ever.
Mm-hmm.
So I've rambled now, hence the name of the show. Aaron, you felt differently.
I did. So I started with a pyromancer class. That was a mistake.
I was like, you just ended it. Like, I started with a pyromancer and crickets.
Right. No, for real. So I started with this pyromancer class because our friend Cass was saying he'd been playing Dark Souls 1. He was like, pyromancer's the way to go. And I was like, cool, okay, why not? I'll take his word on it. I started with a pyromancer class for DS3. I regretted that decision very quickly. Excuse me. Basically, you've got one fire spell that you lob like a 3-year-old with your hand. You bring it back over your shoulder, right? And as you throw it, the fireball just kind of like rolls out of your hand. No, but I mean, like seriously, like, it takes a while to load it up, and then you throw.
Daddy,
and then
catch.
the damage is like a pittance, right? It's like this like underhand like softball, and the damage is a pittance, and you've got this little bitty axe. It's like you're throwing a fireball in one hand, you run in, and you have to hit him with your axe, and you're squishy. And when you don't understand the game, like you said, when you don't understand the game, you don't understand the mechanics or how the rolling works and the iframe and the poising and all of that. It's absolute madness trying to control that.
My health bar was 3 times Aaron's size when we started.
It was. And I was just getting smacked, right? Someone hit me once, and if it didn't kill me, I had next to no health, then I had to drink an Estus. Well, I'm also a pyromancer, so I also have to have the Ashen. I can't just choose health or Ashen. Estus flasks, so I have to like balance them. And I was getting so frustrated, so angry. And then RN Jesus was not on my side with my pyromancer. And I couldn't get weapons to drop. Nothing dropped. And I was just getting so frustrated because I wasn't getting any fresh weapons. Because like you, I like to collect weapons and collect armor, and I wasn't getting any of that stuff to drop until I got through the entire Undead Settlement, and I was on my way to the Road of Sacrifices, and I killed that knight thingy down there, and I got his Ethereal Blade.
Yes. Did you know, like, were you deliberately hunting? Because as soon as I knew the knights, you know, I mean, obviously we know them to be the Lothric knights now, but we just called them those shitty knights that kept killing us when we were new. But
right.
When I knew he had that sword, I was farming him till he dropped that sword and stuff like that.
So I wasn't aware of how any of that worked. I played the game completely blind. I looked nothing up about that game.
Fair.
Not a thing. So actually, any information that I got about like, oh, you want this sword and stuff, I got from either you or Cass because you guys had looked it up. I went through my first playthrough of that game. I went through totally blind.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to know what bosses did. I didn't want to know what to expect, which path to take. I wanted to find everything by sheer accident.
Sure.
So that kind of led me to a lot of frustrations when it came to it. So I got to the point where, as Zach and I were first starting to play this game, I got to this point and I was like, I don't want to play anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you almost quit.
I hated it. Oh, I was so angry. I was like, no, I'm gonna push through it. Zach's enjoying it. Cass is playing along with us. I'm just gonna push through it. Why not? I want to see what this game is like. And I had like a week off or something for some reason with the military. I had some time off, and so I was like, okay, you know what? Zach has been playing the warrior. His health bar is like stupid long, and I'm like stuck with this pyromancer.
It's not that long, but you know, it's pretty long.
It's pretty long.
It's
well, you know,
above average.
If we put your health bar next to my health bar, yours was longer.
I mean, who's measuring really? You know.
Right. So I re-rolled a night, and mine became twice as long as Zach's.
That is not even remotely true. Mine was still pretty big, damn it.
Oh no, it was. But by the time I re-rolled the night, I realized I could just stand in front of things and smash things in the face, and one-shot everything. Suddenly, I was like, "Well, this game's a lot more fun."
So go ahead.
So I re-rolled that, and then of course I caught up to you with the knight, and then I passed you with my knight. The next time you got on, I was like, "Oh, I finished the game."
like twice.
Right.
I logged off about 13 levels higher than you and Cass, and I logged back on like 113 levels behind both of you.
Oh,
And this was in the
goodness.
span of like a week and a half, and I'm like, what on earth has happened?
Right. I was gonna say, I think there was like in that. I think. Oh, you know what I did with my reroll was I re-rolled on a one of the nights you couldn't make it, one of the Sundays you couldn't make it, so I just restarted and I did my night re-roll. That's when I did that.
That's when he just beat the whole game.
That it is in one sitting. Um, but no, I did. I blew through it at that point with the night, and then I went back with the pyromancer, and with the pyromancer figured out how to work. Because then I was willing to look stuff up. So then I figured out like where the spells were, what you're looking for, how you really want to stat and play the pyromancer. And I enjoyed the pyromancer. I still really enjoy just
Nothing
smash him in
beats
the
a good old
face.
night.
Yeah.
So, middle of the game then.
Mhm.
You go ahead, because I started off the last one. I actually, did you kind of talk about the middle of the game? What are you thinking? Where do you want to jump from here?
Well, so I mean, from the middle, I mean, like with the middle of the game and stuff, that's where like I said, I kind of realized in the middle. That's where it's hard for me to say like what was the middle of the game, because the time span, if you look at middle of the game, is when I re-rolled the night.
Okay, fair enough. And so we can BS around, because, I mean, we can just edit out parts where we're like,
Right,
what do we
of
talk
course.
about next?
Don't even need to edit those out. Welcome to the party.
Yeah, welcome to us being complete amateurs.
Mm. But no, so I thought it was So my opinion did do a complete 180, right? So I went in. When we were playing that game, I started as a pyromancer. I hated every minute of it. By the time we have finished that game, I have between all three characters, all of my playthroughs, I have spent well over 300 hours in that game.
Okay, that's some hours.
just a few.
I forget what I ended at. Probably about 60 something.
Yeah. Well, and keep in mind, I mean, my knight. So my knight is level 200. My pyromancer's 140 something, and my what are they called? The dexterity guys, the mercenary. He's coming up on 120, and I'm gonna stop him at 120 for duels.
Okay.
Then I'll probably re-roll one more for a twink character.
I think I ended maybe in the low hundreds. I don't quite remember where I ended up.
Yeah, usually through one playthrough you end around right around 110, 150 if you're really pushing levels, souls and for levels.
So, as much as I kind of had, once again, sort of the reverse experience. I was loving it as we first started, and I was still kind of enjoying it a lot through, God, when was the last place I really enjoyed it? I'd say probably right at about Pontiff Sylvain. As the game went on, I kind of settled on the things that I kind of thought about it were mostly true, and didn't necessarily in a lot of ways ruin the game for me, but I was done. And mostly I think what really ended up discouraging me a lot was the PvP aspect of it, because there's a PvP aspect you really need to learn if you want to be any good at it. And if you're not, what you run into is, I like to exaggerate and say there's two kinds of people. We mostly, for the most part, we ran into the same two kinds of people. And one is a person who's new like us, and then because there's two of us, we just demolished them.
Right.
Make a note here to insert that clip of us just waiting on either side of the door and just sandwiching that one guy.
I'm gonna have to see if I could find it, because that's the problem with the Twitch stuff. Is the Twitch stuff is so
I have it on YouTube.
temporary. Yeah.
And then, or we had a guy who knew the game inside and out, knew all the mechanics and all the gear and where to get it. Which is, by the way, there's some gear I ended up missing and I really wanted. That I was never gonna beat him because I don't even know the game. We're not even playing the same game, he and I. So. And that would end up getting really frustrating because...
Insert all other PvP instances.
Yeah, it was either us killing a newbie or us being the newbies getting killed. That's really all there was to it. And, I don't know, the forced PvP aspect bothered me in that sense, because no matter what the community, and that's something I'll touch on too, wants to say about it, I'm just playing the game. Playing the game with a buddy, which, yes, playing the game with a buddy makes it infinitely easier. The game is... centered around these one-on-one like punch-out style fights where everything has a timing and a a nuance and animations to it that are meant to trip you up. And when you're
Yep.
playing two people, the other guy can just walk behind him and backstab him over and over again because the enemy
Oh
literally
yeah.
won't even pay attention to your friends. And so
Well, no, and that's the truth of it. I mean, how many bosses did we beat simply because one person would smack him in the back, he'd turn around to fight that person, the other person would then smack him in the back, and then he'd turn like, I mean, it was just literally like this. Basically, the boss just spent the entire fight just doing 180s.
mostly, yeah. I mean, there are some bosses. Excuse me. There are some bosses whose health just gets ridiculously high as you add more people. And if your name is Cass, you show up just to make the boss harder for me. Dancer. That clip of Dancer just eating his butt both times. Eating just. Okay, we're going to have to edit that out for Cass. Just the Dancer just eating Cass's butt instantly. And me having to deal with this, like, increased HP monster, which I did on the second try. There are very few bosses that I didn't kill on the first try. I think I can name all of them, in fact. There was Dancer. Oh, shit, no. There's the damn tree. I died to the tree my first time fighting him because he rolled on me, and I swear that hitbox is a little screwed, because I was not under him. But I died to the tree, and then, what was the next death I had? The next death I had, I believe...
Well, when he rolls, I think he pulls poison, too.
Was to Dancer. And then after and then I second shotted Dancer. I think my next death after Dancer was is Yorm or Aldrich first between the two of them. It doesn't matter. I died to either both of them. So Aldrich, I got hit by the arrow rain and found out that kills you pretty quickly.
Yeah, it does.
Yorm, I misunderstood what you told me, and I was trying to get him to bend over so I could hit him in the head, and he just reached down and crushed me. So I died there. And then I died on the Twin Princes, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Did I die at the dragon? I think I may have died at the dragon. I don't know. Well, either way.
On Arc Dragon?
Yeah. Mainly because the first time I fought him, I don't know if it's in the stream or not, but I actually tried fighting him, like, at his feet. And after about 600 hits and him losing about a 20th of his HP, I realized there's probably a trick to it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I was thinking, like, no, we did it together, but that's right, because you had asked me if I wanted to help you with that one, because, no, we didn't.
No, we didn't do that together, and I didn't need help with it. The first time I went to kill him, I didn't jump. I just walked off that ledge, and I was not far enough, and I just fell down and died right next to him. So.
Oh, you know what we did? We did everything except the boss fight, didn't we?
No, we did, because I told you I already beat that boss fight. We did the Nameless King together, who was a really exciting fight. But we did not do the actual big dragon. I don't know. Oh, we fought one of those dragons, but there's a second one.
Oh, you're talking about the very first.
The Ancient Wyvern, yes.
Yeah, the jump on his head
Ancient
one.
Dragon, whatever, I don't care. Whatever it's called. Either way, the point being, God, I bunny trailed here. But I had a lot of fun with the PvE aspect. At times it would annoy me because, and I found this to be an issue, the enemies, you have this very rich, lore-filled world. This very, very rich, beautiful, living, like, world with its own history. It really does not take you out of the world until you fight enemies. Because they're not creatures and enemies that live inside this world. There's a world, and then there are creatures that have been designed by dickhead game designers. And that's an important distinction. Like, a skeleton doesn't go, and run at you and blindly swing. It goes, it runs at you and then holds its arm up and goes, and, like, gets you after you've, like flinched a couple times. And
right.
Enemies just don't do that. Enemies that are designed to, like what runs up to you and winds up and holds its swing for 3 seconds while you dodge and then drops it. An enemy that's been designed knowing that you have a dodge roll and that you're going to be twitchy. So they are enemies designed to fight you as a player. They're not enemies that live inside the game. And I mean, it is what it is. It's still a fun game, but that takes me out of it a bit. Mm-hmm. There's also I know a pro would say they're not finicky, but there are times I'd walk straight into an enemy's asshole and press the attack button, and I still wouldn't get a backstab.
I'm telling you, I have more problems with the backstab making it work than anything else from PvE to PvP. I will get backstabbed by an enemy in PvP, and I swear to God, he's on my left-hand side.
Yep.
And the moment I am like you said, I am like literally like my mouth is at his asshole, and I go to attack, and they parry it, and I'm like, what
Yep, you are human
happened?
centipeding him, and you're not getting a backstab. I'm totally, yeah. So
Right.
could be a latency thing,
It
but
happens with enemies too. Like, oh, that I will admit that can frustrate me sometimes. Um, but
but as far as
anyways, go
like,
ahead.
as far as like, and so I guess that kind of wraps up my feeling on like the game, which is that as far as the, like what were my preconceived notions was that the difficulty was overhyped. The notion that only badasses are going to beat this game was overhyped. That, well, I guess that kind of sums up my feelings right there. And when it came down to it, yes, it's a difficult game. In good faith, I can't technically call it like a baby easy game. It's not laid out perfectly for you. In fact, it is. That's part of it. Is it is intentionally set up to try to trick you and get at least a few cheap deaths out of you.
Mhm.
And that's not, to me, like, that's not revolutionary. Other games are in fact difficult. I know we like to pretend they're not. I guess we're annoyed that they offer tutorials, and this game really kind of doesn't, except for literally the first like 10 steps. But just because it doesn't offer a real tutorial doesn't automatically make it harder. I mean, for one, my favorite weapons in games are like big two-handed weapons. I like playing a melee character, just grabbing an airplane wing and going to town. And
Right.
coincidentally, using ultra weapons in this game really trivializes a lot of content because you can just walk up to enemies and start your animation. And they'll usually walk right towards you to try to attack, and whether they get the swing off or not, you usually either hit them before they hit you and kill them in one hit, or
Mhm.
eat their attack, poise right through it, and hit them and kill them anyway. So, for this legend of, like, it's so difficult, well, that's not true. There are plenty of ways you can cheese it. And again, we're not even going to debate that. Pros of the game know damn well there are ways you can cheese the entire game. And that's kind of
That's
the point of it.
that's kind of I would say that's kind of the point, especially if you're gonna make twink characters.
So you can totally cheese the whole game. And I'm not even talking about the simplicity of multiplayer, which does take a lot of the difficulty out just based on the fact that your friend can go kill everything that's looking at you and vice versa. Um, it, um, it, it doesn't do anything that games like, and I make this comparison quite a bit in the stream, that Mega Man didn't do, which is that it sets up enemies in positions so that when you go to try to grab an item, they'll hit you. Or
Mhm.
if you don't know the timing of there's a lot of falling parts where you fall through a screen and then transition to another screen, and it's logistically laid out so it expects you to land and think about it for half a second. And if you land and think about it for half a second, a spike comes out of the ground and stabs you. Now that'll kill you once, and then the next time you do it, you jump right when you land because you know it's coming. And Dark Souls
Right.
does a lot of that. You walk into a room and then something like tries to jizz all over you. I'm talking, of course, about those like stupid candle enemies.
God.
And like, okay, that happens once, and then it'll never happen again because now you know as soon as you walk through a door, bleh, something's already positioned to spit on you. There are a lot of
Right.
enemies where they're sitting on their ground going, I hope nobody backstabs me. And as you walk up to him, like in a small alcove meant to be out of your view, is an enemy with a great axe staring at him, like waiting for you to go up and try to hit him. And as soon as you do, great axe enemy comes at you. I
Yep.
remember one in the lower pit after you take the hidden passage to find. I wish I was better with names. It's been a few weeks since we played. It's Irina. Irina of Kareem, I think is her name. But as you take that hidden passage down there, somebody, and this is actually a really cool mechanic, the message system. Somebody left a message saying, "Look up," and
Mhm.
your whole camera is panned in this lower area. There's no way you can see above you. But I read that and I looked up, and of course there's a giant pot-holding enemy inconspicuously standing at the edge of a ledge for no particular reason, other than you as a player are going to go try to grab the item right there, and then he's going to fall and smash you. And so
Right.
it's just like the enemies are just set pieces placed there like Mega Man to try to hit you. And
Mhm.
that's not necessarily like difficult. And there are difficult enemies, like when you let those gargoyles transform, or you try to fight the Outrider Knights, not Vort, but the miniature Outrider Knights. Those guys are just
Mhm.
relentless. They have quick attacks, imprecise, kind of, not, I don't want to say random, that's not true, but sporadic patterns. Frantic patterns is probably, I can't think of a good word, but you know what I mean. They're relentless, and you can't quite get a beat on their patterns. Those guys are outright difficult. Trying to walk right up and fight them is
Right.
difficult. But most of
Well,
the
I
time,
mean,
it's just an enemy. Go ahead.
I think there's enemies that you come across that are difficult straight up, like the big mamas, as we call them.
Yeah. If you're not ready for them, they are definitely a pain in the ass.
Oh my god.
And
Those things,
that
I
early in
got
the
to a
game,
point,
yeah.
yeah, I got to the point where like I saw big mamas and I ran. Like I was just like, I'm just gonna run past them because at least like their aggro table was smaller than most enemies.
Oh, I disagreed. I thought they had huge ones. I hate when there's
My
the two of them in that building right past the first fire demon. Ah, yuck.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking of too. Actually,
The
was that
two
moment,
right
and
there.
then my least favorite I think were the jailers. Oh,
Oh, the jailers were just freaking evil. I
look,
still don't
just
have a. Yeah, without
but you're
researching, I
but
still don't know what their mechanic is, where they like your health
I
bar
have
just shrinks to nothing. I
I
still don't
haven't
know what.
found that there. I haven't found that there is a mechanic. That's literally like what you talk about when you talk about like it's just some dick hole. Just put something there to be a dick hole. That's what the jailers are, right? Because it doesn't make sense because sometimes they fog the ground or whatever, and your health starts. Other times they don't fog the ground, your health starts ticking away. Sometimes they fog the ground and nothing happens.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was that mist they shoot or just looking at you. I didn't know, but they're dickholes too.
Yeah,
They're in point two in that prison. There's that, and I knew it was coming, so it was my fault for eating it. But I'm like, if I were one of these developers, I'd make a skeleton or something bum rush me and try to knock me off the ledge, and that's exactly what happened, like
that's
verbatim.
exactly what happened. Yep.
So it's really, again, I'm bunny trailing, but the whole difficulty is based a lot in old like concepts that are just being revitalized to this genre. And while it is difficult, it'll be thrilling. It's not okay to call it like something new and revolutionary to the series. It really is just taking Mega Man style game and putting it towards an action adventure, which isn't bad. It was fun. It kept you on your toes, and in a way, like multiplayer simultaneously. This is gonna sound really dumb because I don't think I fully mean it, but in a lot of ways it made the game easier, and in some ways it made it harder. When I had you and Cass running with me, I mean at that point I didn't care. I was just running forward all the time, and I was eating hits I should never have eaten. And when I play alone, I was really careful and methodical. And when you're careful and methodical through the game, you won't fall into a whole lot of its traps. Like you'll listen for the breathing enemies, you'll see them sitting above doorways, or you'll see them drop behind you and react. I mean, yeah, if you just run straight into a door like, "Duh, I wonder what's in here," and then like two gargoyles just breathe fire on you from other end, then yeah, okay, you're in for a bad time.
I mean,
But
that's how I like to play most of my games.
nah, but you adapt. You quickly learn that Dark Souls is trying to dick you over at any moment. So when you see a
Right.
chest, you either attack the chest first, or you walk up to the chest and then dive away because there's probably something waiting above it ready to drop on you. Oh look,
Right.
6 slimes dropped right away. There we go.
Yeah, there's another one. The slimes, like, they don't drop until you start the opening process. So, like, it's not like you can't really like tease them to drop either. You have to like just shoot them down.
So I've once again I've been rambling a lot on this subject. It's not true about you're going to die 200 times. I mean, I don't know if I died 20 times or not. Subtracting, of course, the several deaths I did intentionally to get the free levels from Yoel, but the game just isn't as difficult as people make it out to be. It can be difficult, and granted, we did play multiplayer a lot, but other than maybe in the Sea of Cinders, the Flaming River, whatever it's called, with those rooms with the birds and orbs.
Lake.
Yeah, I can't think of a place.
Oh, the birds.
I can't think of a place that was, that I couldn't get through alone. Other than like, I never tried that place alone because we were playing together. But everywhere else was just like, it's okay. But the notion that only hardcore people are going to beat it, well, that's not true because literally anybody who picks it up is going to beat it if they want to. The game isn't that difficult. And that was a preconceived notion I had that there's no way that's true. Anybody who plays it long enough can beat it. And that was true. I mean, I didn't finish the game with you. I finished it solo. Yes, I grabbed a companion before I fought the Soul of Cinder, but you know what? I mean, it's not even like I multiplayed it. It was sitting right there. And it is what it is. It was a very fun game. Mechanically, I would like if a Dark Souls 4 is in the works or a Bloodborne 2, I'll play it. I had a good time with this. Mechanically, it was great, but it came full circle to the things I thought about the game were still kind of true. But that's okay, because I had a lot of fun with it. I had a great time with the way the game played. I liked learning the weapons. I liked, it was a ton of fun grabbing the Ultra's great swords and just slamming into things, wearing heavy armor. It's a gameplay experience I wanted. I have no complaints other than the forced PvP, and I can talk a little bit about that. But I've been going on and on.
Yeah.
I need your opinion.
Well, that's where you and I differ, right? Is you don't care for the forced PvP. I fell in love with it.
Okay.
I absolutely fell in love with the PvP system. Now, I'm primarily a PvP player. That's what I enjoy, right? Rainbow Six Siege. Anytime I played like World of Warcraft and stuff, I always played PvP servers.
I did too, but all of that was on my terms, which I come to realize you can put it back on your terms in this game if you choose not to Ember.
Right, you can. So one of the things that like, and I know what frustrated us early on was when we were trying to play the game, we were trying to play it like, oh, it's just me, just us friends, like that's all we want to worry about, and people would jump in and they'd like wreck us. And I remember like how frustrating that was. So one of the things I like about the PvP though is you can get like some of those clans, if you will, that like the Dark Blades, right?
The Dark Moon Blades?
The Dark Moon Blades. And you get summoned to the beginning areas to help anyone wearing a Way of the Blue. Right? That's the stuff I like, is I'm like, because I remember how frustrating it was, so now I enjoy being in a place where I help those people.
I screwed that up so bad at the beginning of the game. I thought putting the
Yeah,
blue
I remember
sentinels
you
on would get me people, and that's why nobody came to help me when I was getting invaded, because I didn't have Way of the Blue on.
Yeah, you had reversed them.
Which I don't think the game does a good job of explaining, or if it does, I just can't read, and I'll admit that.
Yeah, I would say it explicitly says like you will be summoned to anyone wearing Way of the Blue.
Okay, well then I can't read, so there you go. Or I don't know how to interpret reading.
What I think's interesting is you have Way of the Blue, and you have two different covenants that could be summoned to it.
Can you get both at once? Because that was another thing that really frustrated me.
Technically, yeah, you can get both at once. It's a matter of survivability, right? So if you're wearing Way of the Blue and you get summoned in, you might get help right away from one person, and if it's the two of you kind of hanging out and you're surviving long enough, you might have another one who gets summoned in to help out. But generally speaking, if you get another one who gets summoned in to help out, you expect that there's probably an enemy who's also getting summoned in somewhere else around.
Right. Well, and that was my problem too, was the other covenants, because I remembered doing, like right after we killed Crystal Sage, I decided to run around and get some of the items that I hadn't found in the Farron Swamp. And then 2 Farron Watchdogs invade me at once while I'm dealing with enemies. And of course, I ran around for like that whole 10, 20, 15 minute, whatever brawl. Almost prevailed against both of them and the enemies, and came down to like one more hit. And I was just like, how did I not get a partner in this whole time? Well, I didn't get a partner because I put on the wrong covenant, and nobody was going to get summoned into my game. But I still hated that I could get multiple invaders like on their terms coming in on me. And I guess that's kind of my thing was, I'm a PvP player too. You can catch me every single chance I get on Heroes of the Storm playing PvP, because it's only a PvP game, quite frankly. There's an AI mode. Point being, I mean, I've done first-person shooters. I did PvP servers on World of Warcraft. But all of that was, yes, I agreed to this. And I guess there are people arguing, well, if you picked up Dark Souls and Embered up, you did agree to it as well. But I'm just like, I'm trying to learn this game. It's got some nuances. It's got stuff for me to methodically take care of. And I think that maybe that's why I got frustrated. Is not even that the PvP itself wasn't necessarily like, I mean, we were on a limited time. We'd have like an hour together in the stream. And I'd be like, okay, here comes an invader, and we're going to go to like a 20-minute standoff as he tries to figure out a way to kite us into enemies. And so most of the time, the PvP was just a long, arduous process of him either not accepting defeat or us running headlong into defeat because we were like trying to get the game on with.
Right. And so I will admit, right, when you and I were trying to do it in a 60-minute time period, I did get irritated with the PvP. But it was because of what you said, right? It's like because that person is they're going to sit there. Or the times where they went and they would fight us and then we'd kill them, and then I get a message about like blah 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 blah. You guys couldn't take me one-on-one.
Yeah,
blah blah blah.
exactly.
And I'm like, well,
those are the best though. Hate mail's the best.
It is, but it's like then leave. You can leave.
That's exactly
you don't get punished for leaving, but I get punished if you kill me. I lose an ember. So if I have a friend here, we're gonna spank you together. Why? Because Zach and I like to paddle the same.
I mean, he's not wrong. And that's really, the I will say, I think the community is a big killer for me in this game. Some games have actually a pretty good community. It's typically games that aren't commercially wildly successful because the people sticking around with it are the people who love it. And since
Mm-hmm.
Dark Souls is a commercial success, and it attracts a PvP mindset, the community really just does suck, and I don't care who gets offended by me saying that. Like,
No,
th-
I
there's
wouldn't disagree. There's great members in it. I've told you the story before about the guy who I had just started my mercenary, and I held my own against him. You know, he was a twink character, and I held my own against him. He dropped champion souls and over 100 embers and over 100 divinity somethings, whatever it was, to heal up. Like, you know, just because I was able to hold my own. So I mean,
right.
there's those occasionals, but yeah,
Well,
most of the
and I've told you about
community
the
stuff.
time somebody pretended to be Pickle P and came into my game, and I actually sat there and traded him items for like half an hour, and it was actually a hilarious time. So no,
Right.
there's cool people and there's cool moments, but I guess more what I mean is exploring the community to try to like I wanted to learn how to PvP, I wanted to learn tactics, and all I learned was that Dark Souls players like to change terminology to fit their needs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I played MMOs forever, and I've loved them. I played PvP servers. I've played not quite MMOs. I've played et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A gank is when you go up on uneven terms and try to kill someone and halt their progress. When some guy it's like some lowbies out in the field trying to quest, and you stealth up on your rogue and just batter him mercilessly, that's a gank. You're ganking him. That's where the
Mm-hmm.
term came from. So a gank is not when that lowbie's out in the field with two of his buddies and you try to kill him and they end up killing you. You are the ganker and they stopped you. I don't know where
Right.
this term came from. We're like, we gotta go kill those mean, honorless gankers, which is like a red summoning into like a game where I have you and Cass. Like, get the hell out. I'm not coming after you. We're just trying to kill some monsters. We are
Right.
not gankers. You are literally trying to kill me and end my game. You
Mm-hmm.
you are not entitled to an honorable 1v1, and nobody's, well, I shouldn't say nobody, the community is, but in general nobody's cheering you on hoping that you're the underdog who can overcome the odds. Like, what odds? You're looking to murder me while I'm playing my game. You're not owed some
Right.
sort of like courtesy here. Get out of my game and go invade someone else. And
Well,
that
and that's
that
and that's what
mentality,
I was
just I don't
saying,
get it.
right? Is about like getting the hate mail from those people too. Like, oh, it couldn't take me on one. Like, well, no, duh.
Could
Why
I?
would I?
Maybe. Take about half an
Right.
hour of my
Did
life, but me and my buddy are
did
just gonna
I?
kill you and move on.
Right. Did I assume that you'd kill me as you came in at level 20 and had a dragon slayer
Oh
axe?
yeah, get out of here with that.
Right.
If you're good, you could kill me. We literally beat on that one guy with. Do you remember when you, myself, and Cass were in the undead settlement? And some guy wearing full Havel's armor and
Mm,
and the Dark Hand walked up and he was just punching us to death. Like, we
yep.
beat on that guy with merciless R1 spam, and he lost like a third of his health. And then he'd
Yeah.
punch us and two hit us. Like, that's another thing. The twink community is all up on themselves. Like, well, you could kite a guy with Havels. Oh, shut up! You can't die, and that's why you made that character, and you know it. When you're
Right.
when you're fighting against two people who are legitimately on the high wall of Lothric because they're new, they have zero. Like, you will not die, and that's the end of the story. They have no chance of killing you. You are in no danger of death. And I've said that
Mm-hmm.
on a streamer who I really enjoy his streams. He's a funny guy, but he was playing a total twink build, that exact build, in fact. And people were cheering him on, like, I think it's funny you killed three people at once. I'm like, yeah, three people who, like, combined don't have as much health as he does, and all of them beat on him mercilessly with their weapons, and he lost maybe a sixth of his health. He can't die in that situation, and he knows it.
Right. And that's the whole point of it, right? That's the people who hide equip the chaos dagger, right? Like,
At the level 20 with the Hornet Ring and the Chaos Dagger. I shouldn't say Chaos Dagger. I don't know that you can equip a Chaos Dagger that low. But even then, a Hornet Ring with any weapon at that level is going to kill anyone.
I mean, technically you can. All you have to do is you just have to run through the game and collect the coals.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
You're just not turning in your souls. That's all.
But so, I guess that would really, in a
But
lot of ways,
regardless, I still love it. I still love the PvP of it because you know what? Here's what I will say: is there is nothing more satisfactory than when I get pulled in to help some dude Well, okay, I'm gonna talk about two things here. First of all, the other thing that really pisses me off,
Okay.
even more than the hate mail from the level 20 guy in Havel's armor with the Dragon Slayer axe, right? Even more than that guy, really pisses me off is I'm wearing the Dark Blade, right? And I get summoned into let's say Crucifixion Woods. And I see the guy that I've been summoned, right? The host. I start running up to him. As I start running up to him, a dude in red jumps out from behind me. And then I realize as I'm fighting that dude in red that the guy who I supposedly got summoned to help, he's there because he moves his character, or whatever, but he's just standing there watching. In other words, like
right.
they're friends, and he summoned his friend in to pull in other people to kill them from behind. I think that frustrated me more than anything else.
Yeah, and there's some people that would applaud that level of trolling, and there is a certain humor to it. But yeah, it's.
But but you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, one of the reasons I like wearing the Dark Blade is because I want to help those people who are getting invaded.
No,
That
for
used
sure.
to frustrate me. So going back to what I was going to say is, there's nothing more satisfying than when I'm playing with you and we've been invaded by 2 red spirits and we clean house with them. The other thing that's super is when I get summoned into that area, realize what's going on, swap my weapons, and clean house.
Yes.
And then the other dude, I get like my proof of Concord kept or whatever, and the other guy just like sits there and points down or whatever. Like you could tell like he's mad at me. And actually, I one time got hate mail from that guy, the guy
you
who
were
I got
supposed to kill his
summoned to
buddy.
help. Right. I'm like, what? I was supposed to stand there and just let your friend whoop on me? Like,
Yeah, they were trying to farm you for stuff, I'm sure.
probably, yeah.
But that is another thing. The one-on-ones are legitimately exciting. Not the him like backpedaling and taunting, trying to like get you to think you're dumb enough to run towards him and aggro 14 enemies. I mean, when a guy comes in and you and him just go at it, those are exciting battles, and there's a PvP system to be learned there that is very fun.
Yes.
But that was such a minor amount of my interactions with the game. And you know, learning my way around killing people was fun. I guess maybe that's it. Maybe I don't hate the PvP. I just hated like when we were trying to do the 1 hour stream, knowing as soon as a guy jumped in, that was going to be a third or more of our stream was you know, throwing the lure out and getting him out and seeing if we could actually kill him and progress with the game.
Right.
And so that just became an arduous task. And I think had we not been under that restriction, I wouldn't have minded as much. Because that one big PvP rumble we had with the dried finger, that was actually a lot of fun.
That was so fun. I wish there's a part of it that almost wishes you hadn't beat the game so we could just go into an area and just stream just a dried finger for an hour.
We could, I mean, we could start new characters. There's no reason we can't.
We could. I do want to build a twink character still, so I've got to build a character.
How mean would that be to build 3 twinks and dried finger and then just have
Oh
legitimate like invaders come in and there's 3 people with Dragon Slayer armor and axes and like
I was gonna say we have to build twinks, actually beat the game basically, and then but that's the thing is we can't clear the areas.
That wouldn't be hard.
So in theory you'd have to build 2. Well, I mean I've got enough Dragon Slayer axes to frickin' but
here we are spoiling our plans for the future. I'm just saying it could be done. The game isn't over. We could jump back in and have some fun with it.
Of course. But yeah, honestly, I went from hating the game to loving the game. I really enjoy the PvP of it. It's something I want to get more into. I would love to get into the PvP of it a lot more. But you had mentioned, the PS4 PvP community is not really like thriving.
No, and the PC one is huge. Huge with a Y. Huge.
Huge. So there's a part of me that almost would freaking want to buy.
Come to the dark side.
I know. I just don't have the cashola, man. I'm still looking for
cashola.
Christmas gifts. I'll take a gaming PC.
Yeah, right. $1,800. That's just drop it.
If you want to help Aaron achieve his $1,800 gaming PC, go to our Patreon page. But yeah.
So my final thoughts. wanted nothing to do with the game. Didn't even want to give it a shot. Fell in love. Wound up kind of middle of the road. Not upset with it, not hating it. In fact, a positive experience. Would love to play a Dark Souls 4 if it came out. But my full on honeymoon love had faded, and it was more like it was good. You know, I enjoyed it. I'm really glad we played it. I was ready for it to be like a lot of games that like kind of it waned on me a bit. I was ready for it to be over when it was over, and I'm not clamoring to be like, that's it. I gotta do another run through. No, I'm satisfied. You know, it's like a good meal at a restaurant. It's not the best one I ever had for them, but it hit the spot, and I don't necessarily need to go back for another one right now.
All right. See, and so I ended the game. I did need to do another run through.
You ate at that place 400 times in a row after
I
that.
sure did. But yeah, I mean, I literally, I'm probably going to end up platinum. Well, I want to platinum the game, but I realized to do that, you have to play through the game 3 times, collecting every item 3 times.
Seriously? What?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All
fair.
the rings, it's ridiculous. There's something like 59 rings in your first playthrough to collect. Something like almost double that, like 100 and some rings in your second playthrough,
How
and
can
then
there be
another
more
70
rings?
some. Right, +2 versions, and then +3 versions. But I
Don't they just take the place of the regular ring?
yes and no.
Like the
I don't.
Chloranthy ring isn't just replaced with a Chloranthy +2 ring when we're in the same spot?
I'm not sure that, because to be
That'd
honest,
be dumb.
because the Calantry +3 you get in the Ringed City.
Bleh. Bleh.
So
It's like blast shards from Infamous all over again, except it's rings.
yeah, it's the rings is the one piece of it I'm not excited about, but I'm at 83% complete. I'm
So,
like, oh, basically I need the gestures and the rings.
so all in all, I had a great time. And if you ever really like, hey, I want to jump on Dark Souls 3, I would join you. And if there's a Dark Souls 4, we'll rock that out. Overall, I'm very happy we did this. And Aaron and I, as time permits, are going to return to doing the in-person recording opinion pieces. But at the same time,
Yes.
see some, we're going to keep streaming because, frankly, it's video games. We love it. Who doesn't love that?
Right, and to be honest, it fits our schedule better. So some of the things we're looking at, and we need your guys' help with, obviously, is we need to figure out what game we're going to stream next. So we're talking about one of the ways we want to kind of turn this into, just because of our schedules, is basically stream for about 3 weeks and then end the month, if you will, with a wrap up, much like this episode. But to do that, we're going to need your guys' help on trying to figure out what the next games are. We've talked about what all have we talked about? We've talked about Overcooked 2, Neo. I'm down for Siege. Any day, I'm down for Siege.
Aaron's gonna have to teach me Siege because I am the total newbie, and I'm that embarrassing guy who's going to get us killed over and over again.
Which might be fun just to see what happens, because I mean that's a really great to me that's a great exercise. Like in 3 weeks for an hour on Sundays, how much can one person progress? But anyways, what else have we talked about possibly doing?
Doing some other recordings, if not streams of games, like when the new Mario Party comes out, like Smash Brothers. Is Super Mario Party already out?
Super Mario Party's already out. We can do that anytime, boo.
See, I'm totally off. I don't have a Switch yet, but I will be getting one like within the next few months. Okay, whether somebody decides they're gonna buy it for me or I just save up and drop it, I'm getting a Switch because Smash Brothers is coming out, and
Smash Brothers is coming out. So
Daddy's getting that.
Let's see. So as of right now, when we record, what I want to say, this is releasing on Sunday the 9th. So Smash Brothers is coming out. Will have been out for 2 days. It comes out the 7th.
I'm sorry. I'm daydreaming of Smash Brothers right now. I need to get back to Wario and Donkey Kong and all my friends.
Yeah. So we're excited. We're very excited because Smash Brothers comes out Friday, so Rachel and I'll probably play that, and then we actually get to bring. We adopted a dog. We get to bring that home on Saturday.
Little puppy dog.
Yes, his name's Yoshi. So
Is he green?
he is not. He is not green.
Lame.
I would probably be concerned if the dog was colored green.
Just dye the dog green. Come on.
We might. Hey, we might. But you know, at the shelter, they wouldn't let me just dye him green. So, but yes, we're very excited. We're gonna have him as an addition to our family too. So
I
we're
can't
super
wait to
pumped
meet
for that.
Yoshi.
Oh, he's such a sweetie.
All right.
But yeah. So basically, getting back on track. We are really good at staying on track, Zach. Getting back
Puppies.
on. Getting back on track. So we need your help trying to figure out what other games you guys want to see us stream.
They can be real games. They can be adventure games. Like they could be those dipshit party like throwaway games like Mount Your Friends or whatever that game is where you're basically just playing two like snake penises. And yes, that is a game. Whatever you want to watch, we'll play it. You know, I mean, this is for your entertainment. We just
It's
want to
true.
know that it's something you want to see, and we'll dedicate the time to it. Because honestly, we
Right.
love you guys. We love entertaining you, and we love playing games. It's a win-win.
It's true. And I said 3 weeks. If it's a if it's a big game like Dark Souls was a big game, there's no way we get through it in 3 weeks, right? 'Cause
No,
we're talking 3 hours. There's no way we get through something like that in 3 hours. But there's certain games we can get through in 3 hours. I mean, Siege is gonna be Siege. Is gonna be Siege, right? You're just gonna progressively get better at it.
yeah, sure, better, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Super Smash is Super Smash is Super Smash, right?
yeah. I'm gonna make you cry in that.
Probably.
Sorry, that was mean.
Mario Party's Mario Party's Mario Party, right? I mean,
I'll
like
cry in that.
there's certain games like that we don't need to do more than probably 3 streams of them, and that's really just for entertainment purposes to see how things change.
But can't we do many more of Smash Brothers? Oh, sorry, just lofty thinking here. I loved every Smash Brothers, and I'm just so happy this one is incredible. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not turning this into a Smash Brothers rant, okay? Because there's so
Why
much to
not?
talk
Let's
about
talk
in that.
about it. Let's talk
No,
about
that's gonna be its own long thing because there's too much to talk about.
it. Okay. I mean, we've only been recording for like an hour and a half, so
Yeah, it's we're above the point. So, do you want to sign us
but
off?
yeah, we could do that. But and that's kind of where I was alluding to with this. So in the comments below, let us know what games you guys want to hear us. You guys want to see us stream, not hear us stream. We're gonna stream it, and then we'll tell you how it went. No, but tell us what games you want to see us stream. Don't forget that we are streaming now on Twitch as well. We're about halfway to where we need so that we can get the subscribe button. So if you guys can head over to that Twitch channel, it's Valley Studios Gaming. We would greatly appreciate it. Hit the follow button. And once we get 50 followers, then we can get the subscribe button over there. Once we get the subscribe button, we can start monetizing all of our streams. So,
Heck yeah.
but you guys doing that, and I will leave links in the description below. By you guys doing that, you can help us kind of achieve our further goals of turning this into a full-time career, to be quite frank. Along with that, don't forget that you can also go to our Patreon page. There you can become an exclusive member of that community. And by doing that, you get extra content, right? You get early releases to all of our content. You get the unedited version of the 10 Way. You'll get the unedited version of this.
The unedited version.
Yeah.
Zach is a total tool who is an amateur at podcasting.
You're doing great, sweetie.
Yeah.
And we are in the process of currently building merchandise. I think we're going to start with T-shirts, is what Mike and I decided. So we're in the process of getting those. And if you're a patron, you will get first dibs at them, and then we will also be coming out with exclusive merchandise just for our patrons. So there's a lot going on over there. Extra and exclusive content. I know Cass is working on a lore. He's going to do it. I'm going to do the video portion. We're putting together a lore video for Warframe.
Awesome.
That's exclusive to our patrons. So there's a lot of things for our patrons that we are working on and coming out with. So it's definitely time to jump it over there. And again, by doing that, you help us achieve our larger goal here of being able to do this full time. Finally, I talked about Twitch and I talked about Patreon. Don't forget all the other different platforms you can follow us, such as Facebook at Valley Studios, and of course at YouTube at Valley Studios. Finally, we have 2 Anchor channels now, 2 podcast channels. So one of them is the Ramcast. So you catch that anytime we do these sorts of things. Zach and I release this as a podcast as well as the video portions and all of that. And then the other one is the 10 Way. So if you haven't checked it out, that one's definitely worth checking out. We recently hit enough listeners that we are now sponsored.
Excellent.
So we have 2 sponsors, which means I have to.
Milestones.
Yes, it is exciting, but it means I now have to write 2 scripts that I can just throw in the middle of the show randomly. So and that show is even worse about getting off topic than Zach and I have been tonight. So.
If you can believe that.
Yes. So if you are listening to the podcast version of this and you're listening to it on iTunes by chance, I'm also going to ask you to please go and leave a 5-star review. By doing that, you help us reach that new and notable rating, which again helps us out with monetization purposes. So yeah, I think that's all of our channels. We've got a lot going on. We're growing, right? We're growing from where we started this, which is great. But it also means we have all those extra channels, all the more content that we are creating for you guys. So we hope you enjoy every bit of it. We hope you love RAMblers. I know Zach and I love doing this for you guys.
Absolutely love it. Every moment.
Every moment. And then, again, leave those comments below. We love having those open discussions with you. We love you all. We appreciate your support, and we will see you all again.
Bye.